just make a very small presentation on what we went through the ECVR and the status thereof, and also the areas we think that we did very well, especially where the security agencies are involved and where we may think that we need more support. We are looking at the evaluation and coordination mechanism of the yeah, I'm being told, I don't know how that you may be forced to turn a little bit. Thank you so much. Yeah. The podium happened to be on this side. And the presentation on the other side. So we are saying that we are looking at evaluation and coordination mechanism, also the best practices and successes. Then we identify and analyze operational challenges, and also look at actionable recommendation, and how then do we strengthen accountability and the culture of learning. The ECVR started, the CVR started on the 29th of September 2025 after the commission was appointed. This was based at the offices of the commission, the 290 constituencies. But then that ECVR, that we are not reaching to the grassroots, and with the availability of funds, that's how we launched the ECVR. ECVR means Enhanced Continuous Voter Registration. Was supposed to come from this ECVR, and that's how we ended up having 2.5 as our eligible voting population, based on the issues of ID. But the overall goal is to get to 6.3 million before the next election. What are the success observed? High turnout and civic engagement, which resulted to 2.3 million new voters in 30 days. We sustained the enrollment at 91.9% of the target that was achieved. Actually, we fall short by 154,000 of our target. We also, as part of success, we are able to reach the unreached, the ASO areas, the marginalized. You remember the Saku people who had already cried that they have never seen voter registration in their area. We are able to get there, the informal settlement, and open kit strategy was very also important to us, because we are able to reach Kenyans everywhere. You could register in the nearest polling registration station. Wherever you saw the kit, you could register. That eliminated that people had to travel from Nairobi to home, or from anywhere to their home, because you are supposed to register at the nearest area. The other success is that the enhanced youth participation. We were also helped by the Tuko Kadi campaign, the digital campaign, the TikTokers, and we registered around 2,073 Kenyans allowed anniversary towers at our customer experience. We are also able to reach out to the university, the TVETs, and all the colleges. There was also the success of inclusivity and accessibility. The person with disability were accommodated in recruitment. We are able also to move to Huduma centers, and also 1,450 wards were served. The process was also very gender responsive, and we made it intentional to be gender responsive by mobilizing women groups and different women and women leaders to participate in the in the mobilization. Then the operational excellence, we had 24/7 ICT support, real-time monitoring, and weekly public updates, 5-level cascaded training, all across the 12,520 staff that were trained for this particular exercise. In terms of data, without reading every county, you can see that we had different counties calling different areas in every week. But we want to celebrate the counties that surpasses their target, as you are going to see in another slide. There are some counties, even the target that was set, they surpassed. You can see that is a graph showing how we move from week 1 to week 2 to week 3, and you can see we progressively lose as we continue to mobilize. This is courtesy of the many stakeholders, including the Gao people and everybody who came in to mobilize with us. Go on. That graph shows the cumulative gain per county over ECVL for the top 15 counties. As you can see, I don't know whether you are able to read, the top county, of course, is Nairobi in terms of numbers. But in terms of whether they surpassed their target, they may not have surpassed, but at least Nairobi was leading. There was also Kiambu. There are so many counties you can see there. You can see Bungoma there, you can see Kilifi, you can see Nakuru, you can see Nandi, you can see Kericho. These are count Turkana. These were counties that registered very high numbers, and the mobilization came as a result of mobilization that actually was engaged at the grassroots. Go on. What are the challenges that we encountered? We encountered the challenges of IDs, card delays. This was noted, and it was critical. Many eligible adults lacked IDs. There was also the challenge of uncollected IDs at Huduma centers and also at the areas that the IDs were registered. Then rural-urban migration barrier and a collection of ID being the original application point. People apply an ID, for example, in Limuru, and then they come to Nairobi. So they then don't go back to pick their ID. So the migration also affected those, took a lot of time for the people who have applied the ID to collect. Had geographic and climatic barriers, vast areas and terrain. Some, of course, are the issue of the rains and poor infrastructure, drought and flooding, impact on voter registration. Then security concern, which was medium in the voter registration. We had isolated attacks on voter registration officials. Enhanced protection measures were needed, and we thank the security agencies for coming in handy when we requested you to follow and arrest some of the people who disturbed the process. We had two incidences in Nairobi where was done, and the security agencies coming through for us. Then we have the problem of disinformation and misinformation, fake news, and also the fact that some, especially the political class, deliberately misread or misinterpreted some information that was given by IEBC, and some of course, young people also. And out of abundance of caution, we kept clarifying the information that we had given out there. Go on. The way forward in priority is that data upload and verification. Uploading of ECVL data to central database is ongoing. The issue of verifying information and also verifying the status of somebody's registration, and also very important to us is to ensure that the register is have integrity. Security enhancement, collaboration with the national security agencies, protect personal and high-risk areas, equipment safeguarding the protocols. Then the seamless ECVL transition, there was a shift from ECVL, from routine CVL without gaps. This sustained registration momentum at the office level. And I want to note that now that ECVL is finished, we are back to the offices, we are in Huduma centers, and we are still at customer experience. We have gone back to those areas. But this time, we are very present in the Huduma centers, and we want to thank the ministry for providing the platform. Then the issue of misinformation combat, proactive communication strategy is needed, and we shall continue to do that. Regular verifiable update and social media monitoring and rapid response. The other success was youth mobilization. We shall continue to expect expanded youth voter registration mobilization campaign, digital platform intensification, university and TVET, sustained outreach. Then also what we may call the ASO areas, we intensify the ASO area, the marginalized areas, where the distances are far, and we see at what we can do to overcome the geographical barrier proactively, even as we plan for the future activities like this. Collaboration with stakeholders during this ECVL, I want to specifically thank the national government, especially the National Registration Bureau. We had very good collaboration of the IDs and ensuring that the IDs are distributed in time. We even used to come to your offices and sit there and register people near where people are collecting IDs. Then the county government, we had very good support with the county government. Actually, some of the county government went to the extent of launching the voter registration at the county level. We also really appreciate the county commissioners specifically. They actually attended all our engagement meeting together with their officers. Some of them even came with their entire troop, right from the village elder all the way to the county commissioner during the stakeholder engagement, which the commissioners of IEBC participated in all the counties. We also noted the mitigated isolated attacks, which actually the security agencies came and helped us enhance ASO deployment and support in guarding the kids all the way in the ASO areas and some areas in urban areas. We requested that you give us security so that they move together with the kit, which was provided. The enhanced media coverage was also a good thing, and I want to thank the media because media was not paid, but they did a fantastic job. They invited commission staff, commissioners, and they talked about it. And really, we appreciate the media partnership and the many media appearances that the commissioners of IEBC and staff appeared and the coverage. Then the Huduma Center, we had 57 Huduma Centers nationwide. We are still stationed there, and this is really assisting in accessibility, especially for the urban youth. Just moving from registration CS, allow me to just highlight one or two slides on the issue of by-elections, the interagency coordination. IEBC have held by-elections in 3 cohorts. We did some in February, we did in November, and now yesterday. And in all these areas, we have seen good collaboration from the agencies, and we can say that improved rapid response capacities in urban centers during recent mini polls, effective deployment of special and skilled security units, and real-time incidents reporting at the constituency communication centers. What are the identified gaps? Inconsistent information sharing between the field officers and the local security committees. We have seen that inconsistency, which we may need to enhance how we share information. Sometimes we may need somebody to be arrested because of an electoral offense. Then the delay in the security response, sometimes even when a police station is under attack, and I can give an example when there was one police station that was attacked in Narok, and the response was a bit slow. That is why we are saying probably the sharing of information between the Commission and the security agencies and the response mechanism. And I know my colleague Hassan will be talking about the response. Then lack of standardized electro-centric training of frontline police officers. We note that, especially for by-elections, so that probably we need to enhance a program where we train frontline police officers who are participating in electoral processes before the electoral process itself. Delayed response to organized disruption in geographically remote polling stations. So the issue of response and timely response. Strategic action is that we should standardize involved in election security and election security arrangement for the 2027, and I know he's going to touch a few on by-elections.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Ann. Thank you very much, Cabinet Secretary and our Chairman and the team that is here. We are grateful that we found an opportunity to sit this morning to come and discuss issues that are of relevance and very important to the electoral process of our country. And as a way of background, I'll just give an introduction of our country. And as a way of background, I'll just give an introduction that our election has been prone to violence over the years. And it is our endeavor to make sure that we minimize the violence as we move ahead. You will see it as we move ahead that our violence rate has been going down, and we are very grateful to all the participants who are here. We borrow a leaf from 2007, 2008. We have had a very complicated election, and we had the aftermath that almost tilted the country. It almost tipped the country. However, we've come of age and we've come out of it, and we have done a lot of progress. Political competition and ethnic balkanization is the cause of all these problems. Article 81 of the Constitution provides our electoral system and all the laws that relate to this, and the Commission is obligated to ensure elections are held within a peaceful environment. The Commission does not have instruments of violence or coercion or maintaining law and order, and we rely entirely on the police service, National Police Service, and we are very grateful that this has gone very well over the years. In 2013, IEBC collaborated with NPS and other stakeholders to ensure a structured provision of electoral security. What we are discussing today is the Electoral Security Arrangement Project that has been instituted during this time, so that we can be able to capture the lessons and learned over the years and reduce the level of violence during the electoral process. The electoral security coordination mechanism is structured there. At the high level, we have got the forum co-chaired by IEBC chairperson and Inspector General of Police. At the lower level, we have got the policy and advisory forum, co-chaired by the vice chairperson of IEBC and also the chairperson of IEBC Human Resource Administration, and the two deputy inspector generals of National Police Service and the DCI. At the multi-agency level, that's the technical working group, we have all those players who take part, who send their representative to this committee, IPOA, NCIC, or DPP, or RPP, civil society, and all stakeholders who are involved in this exercise. And then at the lower level, we have the Electoral Security Hub, which is at the headquarters here at Anniversary Towers, where we have everybody again seated there in a situation room where they do. That's what Commissioner Ann has said about a national situation room where everybody sits there to coordinate as election moves on. The linkages, of course, as it cascaded down all the way to the county levels, where we have the ESAP program extended up to the lowest level, up to the constituency level, and that has worked very well for us. The key elements of the electoral security project is, of course, early warning and risk mapping of electoral security hotspots, the detection, risk assessment and investigation, prevention, responses structured around prevention of threats and violence triggers. Mr. Chairman, Mr. Waziri, this is a very important area. As we mitigate electoral conflict, we have to understand our geographical terrain, and more importantly, we need to understand our societies. Our societies react differently during stress and during trouble. The troubled north, where you could say northeastern province, and the North Rift areas react differently when they are confronted with situations of stress and problems. It's unlike the agricultural setup. The way the Mount Kenya people react and the way the people in Kisii react are completely different. So officers are advised to understand their societies more than anything else. How do they react? In the northern part of the country, the northeastern part, is an area where any small conflict will lead to death. For a very strange reason, we have not been able to understand why that is so. But any small conflict, a small boundary issue of a school and a mosque, somebody must die. So this is the trouble that we have. And again, they are a very oral society. It's a society you can sit them down and tone down and bring that temperature down all of a sudden. So engage a lot on oral attention, against the use of force. If you look at the North Rift, is also a disturbed area. They have, some of the communities are armed, and we need to understand them. Some of them express their anger loudly. The place from where my chairman comes from, they express their anger very loudly. They can be heard. But if you come down south, the Pokots, you heard them, you never hear about it. But for sure you will get a revenge 3-4 years down the line. So we need to understand the societies in which we operate, so that we can be able to say, okay, this group, this is how we are going to handle them. Those of my colleagues, my officers who are here, and I'm very proud, Waziri today, I see Bival here, I see Saka here. These are officers I trained, and this is the line of training that we give them, so that they're able to tell, if there's a conflict between Kisis and Masais, there's a way to do it. The Kisis their reaction is spontaneous. The Masais will take time. They will wait for a forum where they will sit and deliberate and put their facts on the table. And they will bring the best speakers on the table to bring facts about the history of this conflict. Until even if they're on the wrong, you will definitely give them the truth. So we need to know, and we must understand our societies as much as we can. Mitigation and mediation is very important. When Waziri, there was an office in your office of peace building and conflict, Kenya National Focal Point for Peace, and I remember we used to work a lot during the post-election violence of 2007 with my chairman when he was on the other side of UNDP. That office was very important with NCIC in monitoring and making sure that these conflicts are mitigated in good time. Waziri and team, implementation of electoral security arrangement is based on the following pillars. Capacity building, our officers must be trained. There is no way, because we keep on evolving. Our officers keep on adding in numbers. We have new recruits coming out into the service. Therefore, we need to make sure that they are intact, they are at par with all those that have been there. We have to coordinate amongst ourselves. Communication is very important. Electoral gender-based violence prevention is very critical for us as IEBC, because we want to enhance the two-third gender parity level. We want to make sure that the two-third gender is moved, and the only way to do is to make sure that no gender feels disadvantaged in the process of the electoral process. Public engagement is very important. We have now a very vibrant society that is very social media savvy, and we need to listen to them and address them and reach out to them. The security resource materials are there. We keep on upgrading and revising them. We have, I think the latest is the 2022 edition, and every police officer, every security officer engaged in the election is given a handbook they are given the manual, they are given security pocket size guide for them to be able to keep on referring to. Success and challenges. The Commission implemented election security program during 2013-17, 2022 as an electoral conflict prevention, and I think we've been able to achieve great successes. Provision of security for election materials and officials, that is very important for us, and for this case, security of election officials include even the security officers themselves. They must feel themselves safe, and they must be in a secure environment where they can be able to carry out their responsibility without any hindrance. And therefore, capacity building is very critical for all these officers to make sure. Interagency cooperation and information sharing, this is a matter that is very important for all of us. Next. This is a table, a graph showing the level of the violence over the years. 2007, it was a peak. God forbid we will get back there. 2013, it's gone down. 2017, it's gone down. 2022 is at the lowest level. And hopefully this year, 2027, next year, we intend to have zero violence. That really should be our aim. And Banawaziri team, our experience is that a lot of these problems are normally after elections. For us, elections is when the tallying has been done, the results has been announced. That ends our responsibility as IEBC. Up to that level, we normally don't have any problems. But anything after that, we have the challenge, and that's the challenge we need to confront as IEBC and ESAP jointly together to make sure we don't have it. Challenges of electoral security, late commencement of ESAP in the electoral circle. This is also very important because of the insufficient funding, we tend to move to operationalize ESAP up to the end of the process. Attacks on commission staff is a challenge, and we have had several incidents in the past, though isolated, and they have been dealt promptly with by the security officers, and we are very grateful. The latest, of course, we had a bit of incident in Banissa, where an electoral official was attacked by young Kenyans who were seeking to be recruited into the polling registration clerks, and the police have moved, DCI has moved with speed, and action has been taken, and the culprits have been taken to court. We also have incidents of in Kariobangi North, where part of our equipment was vandalized and stolen, and there was very fast response from the security organs. Mandate competition, not so much really, but we are all in it. The highly dynamic political environment that kept shifting tact and approach, not just the physical. Last-minute amendments to electoral laws, voter bribery or treating, whatever we call them, is a challenge. For us, I think as IEBC, we are very concerned about our activities within the entire electoral process, the electoral environment, and more specifically the polling station, which is about 400 square meters. Partisan security officers and also IEBC officers, these are challenges that we need to address at our levels. We don't condone, both at IEBC and security officers, to make sure that they are non-partisan. Security threats and disruption at tallying centers. This is very important for us, Waziri and team, because all our problems are at the tallying centers. Kenyans will go and vote. They will finish their voting. For us as IEBC, voting begins and ends at the polling station. But when it comes to the tallying center, that is where everybody comes now. All the goons are shifted there, and there's a lot of disruption there. The security of the tallying center is very important, both at the counties and at the national level both. And this time we're going to be very robust. We'll give a very robust security arrangement, and a lot of people will be kept out of the tallying centers to make sure that there's zero disruption. Presence of organized criminal gangs and goons. This is very important, and I'm sure the ministry is top on this agenda to make sure this doesn't happen again. Because we've seen what happened in Homa Bay, in Kasipul Kabondo. That was a very disruptive process by goons. Yeah, we've seen attacks in Malaba, Narok Town, evidence of killing in Kasipul, which was very bad. We need also the process of investigation and arraigning people in court and the court processes to be fast-tracked so that people know that there's always consequences to an action that they do. Early risk mapping and recommendations, early risk mapping, preventive deployment are more effective than reactive security responses. Expedite investigation and prosecution of election offenders. Strong polling station access control frameworks are needed. Enhanced protection of election technology and material is critical. Next. Threats towards 2027. Presence of, again, goons seems to be the only common denominator in all our speeches about electoral violence. Goons and criminal gangs. We need to eliminate this from our midst to have a free election. Voter repression and intimidation, this will come as a result of violence, and that's why securing the voter environment is very important. Hate speech, this Waziri is one of our greatest challenges as we have today, because it looks like it is the easiest way to rally people behind yourself. You have to be insultive, you have to insult somebody for the young Kenyans who are unemployed to listen to you. It's unfortunate. So this is hate speech is very important, and we call upon our sister organization, NCIC, to take lead in this process and make sure that this is minimized. Cybersecurity threats, this is challenging because we are headed towards the election, and we have a very IT savvy community, especially the younger generation, who are hacking literally into everything. Last minute change of election laws is also, it has its own disruptive effects. Polarized political environment, as we head towards the elections, we have that serious concern about polarizing the political environment. Media bias. Our brothers and sisters within the media fraternity have been very helpful. They have taken our message, and that's why we achieved our targets for the ECVR. However, we still see pockets of bias reporting, and this has a challenge and a bearing on the election in 2027. Persistent attacks on the Commission. The Commission can be closely, compared to midwife. We've said it time and again. When you keep on attacking the midwife, you don't expect the mother and the child to be safe. So we have the legal process of making sure that the electoral process is conducted in a free manner. But if we continue bashing the electoral body, electoral management body, then it becomes very, very complicated. The attack can be physical, the attack can be, through the media. It is very disturbing for us because it saps our energy from progressive working to every time we are just attending to crisis of attacks here and there and here and there. It's unfortunate, it's our society and how it is. Misinformation and disinformation. This is also, we've seen, people's pictures, people speaking. Yeah, the AI world has come to, those of us who were born before computer, we're actually wondering what is going on in this world. Terrorism, especially in the northern part, especially northeastern part, we have issues which are still disturbing us, and we need a very secure environment for us to conduct the elections. As it is now, we need to do a bit of work there. Plans for 2027, we are just coming to the end. Personal safety, zero tolerance for harassment of IEBC officers, security officers, observers, and everybody. Critical infrastructure, at the tallying center, surveillance, restricted multi-access control, logistic securities, armed escort and GPS tracking of all our sensitive materials is done during the campaign, the election process. Cyber security, collaborative monitoring of digital infrastructure with national security agencies. Organized disruption. You can see goons and criminal gangs is a common denominator when you talk about electoral violence. So these are things we are attending to: political militias, intelligence-led policing, personnel intimidation, legal enforcement. All these are what we're looking forward to. Security framework, a robust response mechanism, a command and coordination center, real-time data sharing is very important between ourselves and the multi-agency team, intelligence-led policing, that is, we've just said about it, joint specialized training for all officers, a unified protocols for police and IEBC staff on election day security and crowd management. When we say police, it includes everybody, NYS, KFS, prisons, everybody is involved. Community policing, engaging local leaders to prevent election-related security threats and public disorder. We need to engage communities, and we must have a formula of engaging errant leaders who keep on inciting. And have a little more, including head of ODPP, NCIC, IPOA, ORPP, and NCC. That is important because at that level, they're able to tackle any issues that come from the lower section. Continuous mapping of security threats and information sharing with various agencies for action. Review election security reference materials. Of course, we have evolved over time. The last 5 years, there has been a lot of changes, and we need to review our manuals. Training of security agencies, that is on their role in the electoral process, devolve situation room to counties to address security concerns, clear communication throughout the election process, activating peace committees at the county and sub-county levels. They're already there and they are working very effectively. Indeed, as we went around and had a discussion with the county ngaos and the security organs, they work very closely with our officers on the ground, and we are very grateful for that collaboration. Engage with KDF in disturbed areas. Waziri, that is very important. The northern part, especially northeastern, we will fall back on KDF as and when they are required to control the situation, because sometimes there's a bit of a spillover from across the border. Enhance security for staff, logistics, assets, and processes. That is very important for us. That brings us to the end of this presentation. We are so grateful for your listening. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Commissioner, for the detailed presentation. Waziri, I'll request us to face the podium for the next session. Sorry for that. I'll invite our session chair, who is Bivadi Opora, the Principal Administrative Secretary, National Administration. Karibu.
Thank you, my co-MC, Madam Purity, and the presentation by the IEBC team. A round of applause for them. Honorable Kipchumba Murkomen, our Cabinet Secretary for Interior and National Administration, Honorable Erastus Ethekon, the Chairperson of IEBC, allow me to say all protocols observed and good morning. Looking at our program, after this segment, we are going to have plenary discussions. And for that purpose, allow me to introduce the team that is accompanying the Cabinet Secretary when and if you wish to engage during those discussions. From the State Department for Internal Security and National Administration, the Cabinet Secretary is accompanied by the PS, 2 directorates that are manned by the PAS, Internal Security, and myself, National Administration, and officers within those directorates. He's also accompanied by the CEO, NCIC, and his team. He's also accompanied by Madam Josephine Onunga, who is the Secretary in charge of peace building and conflict management. We also have a communication team. We also have the NC4, and we also have the NC4 and National Crime Research Center team. The National Police Service has, of course, the Inspector General of Police, Dr. Douglas Kanja. We also have the 2 DIGs, Administration Police Service and Kenya Police Service, and also the Director Criminal Investigations and the Secretary Administration at the National Police Service. And the State Department for Immigration and Citizen Services has the PS himself, Dr. Bello Kipsang, and of course the Director Generals in charge of Civil Registration, National Registration Bureau, Immigrations, and other senior officers from that State Department. Allow me to appreciate once again the presentations by the IEBC team, and that therefore sets the pace for our further engagements. As you're aware, in the year 2025, we conducted the Jukwaa la Usalama forums in the entire country that then gave forth to the Jukwaa la Wasomi forums. And during the same, IEBC was good to us, and they were able to attend and engage the youth. And following that youth engagement, IEBC was represented by Commissioner Mukwana. We were able now to see the fruits, Commissioner Ann, by actually having enhanced youth participation. So this is indeed a continuation of our engagements. Also, it has been alluded to by the acting CEO that this journey had already begun during the ECVR and even during the subsidiary by-elections that were held, where this ministry played a significant role. And in these presentations, we have had security concerns as part of the concerns for the IEBC, and also given recommendations and highlighted the gaps. It is now my honor to invite Douglas Kanja, the Inspector General, to be able to give his presentation, Matters Security Preparedness. Karibu sana, IG. A round of applause for him. And thank you from the presentations, that which you have already been able to do. Thank you. Is it a presentation? A PowerPoint?
I think we have it.
Okay, thank you.
So, 1 minute. 1 minute. Murkomen. Thank you very much. Our chief guest this morning, CS Honorable Kipchumba Murkomen, the chair, IEBC, vice chair, the two PSs present with us this morning, commissioners of the IEBC, DIGs, Mr. Ngat, in charge of the Kenya Police Service, and DIG, Mr. Gilbert Masegeri, in charge of Administrative Police Service, together with the DCI, responsible for the investigative services of the National Police Service, and all the senior commanders present with us here, and everybody else. Let me adopt the protocols so far observed. And this morning, I must say that, first of all, we are very, very grateful, Honorable Chief Guest, for calling on this very, very important meeting, so that as we move towards the 2027 general election, we prepare ourselves to the best possible levels, so that implications on national stability.
Sorry, IG, to interrupt you. The presentation
we turn around.
on the screen, sir, so kindly turn around. Sorry for the inconvenience caused.
Okay, thank you very much. Let us proceed on. So as I've said, election remains one of the most sensitive national processes with significant implications on national stability, public order, economic continuity, and constitutional governance. The electoral cycle is no longer viewed as a one-day event, but a continuous process involving political mobilization, voter registration, party primaries, campaigns, voting, tallying, declaration of results, and post-election transitions. Historically, each phase of the electoral process presents distinct security vulnerabilities, requiring early preparedness, continuous monitoring, and coordinated multi-agency response. Kenya's current political environment is characterized by heightened political activity, early political arrangements, increasing political intolerance, weaponization of misinformation, and increased mobilization of youth through both physical and digital platforms ahead of the 2027 general elections. The emergence of organized criminal gangs, inflammatory political rhetorics, online incitements, localized communal tensions continue to pose evolving threats to election security management. Lessons drawn from the previous electoral cycle, including the 2007-2008 post-election violence, the 2017 electoral protests, and the recent public demonstration by the agencies, underscores the need for proactive security preparedness, early warning mechanisms, coordinated deployments, at the strategic communication centers. The National Police Service recognizes the public confidence in electoral integrity requires a secure environment where voters, candidates, election officials, and all stakeholders exercise their democratic rights freely without fear, intimidation, or violence. The role of the National Police Service in election cycle. I think we have lost the signal, but let me continue from where I'm reading from. So the role of the National Police Service in election cycle. The National Police Service derives its election security mandate from Articles 245 of the Constitution of Kenya, the National Police Service Act, the Elections Act, the Public Order Act, and the other relevant statutes governing electoral processes. The core responsibility of the service during election is to guarantee law and order throughout the electoral process. The service is mandated to protect life and property, prevent and detect electoral offenses, safeguard electoral infrastructure and materials, secure voters, candidates, and election officials, maintain public order during political activities, prevent violence, intimidation, and criminal disruption, facilitate peaceful and constitutional transfer of power. The service remains constitutionally obligated to execute its mandate with political neutrality, professionalism, impartiality, proportionality, and adherence to the human rights principles. Election security operations are therefore anchored on intelligence-led policing, preventive security management, multi-agency coordination, strategic deployments, rapid response capabilities, and community engagement and public confidence building. Security dynamics across the electoral cycles. You are aware that we have 3 electoral cycles. We have the pre-election cycle, we have the election period, and we have the post-election period. And they have actually been elaborated very, very clearly by the former speaker who was here. So, in the key election, pre-election phase, key activities includes, as has been elaborated here, national identity, ID registrations, the continuous voter registration, political mobilization, party primaries and nominations, and political rallies and campaigns. The emerging security concerns during that phase. The heightened political intolerance and confrontational campaigns, as I have indicated there earlier, violent disruption of political rallies and party nominations by goons and criminal gangs, ethnic profiling and zoning of political strongholds, incitements and hate speech, voter bribery and intimidation, increased online misinformation and inflammatory contents. Radicalization of unemployed youth, especially the agency for political violence. National Police Service preparedness measures in respect to the pre-election phase. In that, we have the continuous threat assessment and hotspot mapping. We have the deployment of intelligence and surveillance teams, monitoring and crackdown of organized criminal networks, enforcement of Public Order Act regarding public gathering, strengthening of early warning and early response systems, engagements with the political actors for proper security arrangements during the political rallies, increased patrols in identified hotspots at urban informal settlements, enhanced monitoring of social media and digital platforms, security coverage in voter registration centers. During the election period, that is one of the cycles. The key activities there is the distribution of the election materials, the polling and the voting exercise, tallying, and the transmission of results, security risks. During that period, the disruption of polling exercise, attack on polling stations and tallying centers, destruction and interference with election materials, coordinated violence in identified hotspots, targeted attacks against election officials, violent crowd build up around tallying centers, cyber-related disruptions and misinformation, opportunistic criminality, and looting. The National Police preparedness measures. Deployment of integrated election deployment plans, security assessment of polling stations and tallying centers, joint operation centers at the national, regional, county, and sub-county levels, escorts and protection of election materials, deployment of rapid response at specialized unit, strategic deployment of anti-riot squads in each sub-county, enhanced communication and centralized command system, strengthened security deployment in critical infrastructures and area and ground surveillance in high-risk areas, meaning that the National Police Service has got a whole lot of things that it's supposed to do to ensure that we have a successful electoral process. In the post-election phase, the key risks are rejection of all contestation of results, mass demonstration and unlawful assemblies, ethnic retaliatory attacks, arson and destruction of properties, attack on businesses, critical infrastructure, mobilization of organized gangs for violence, barricading of roads and key highways, community displacement and localized conflicts. Our National Police Service preparedness measures, sustained deployment in hotspot at vulnerable areas. We ensure that we deploy adequately. Activation of contingency response teams, enhanced public order management operations, protection of strategic national installations, community stabilization and peace engagement, joint intelligence monitoring and response coordination, enhanced highway patrols, and continuous operational readiness until completion of the transition process, meaning that the National Police Service is also working with everybody else, including the motor agency, so that we can be able to achieve all that. The national threat assessment, the service has taken a nationwide threat and vulnerability assessment to identify emerging election security threats, drivers and triggers. This is a continuous process, so that by and while we keep on responding to whatever new things are coming up, so that we can always be able to prime ourselves adequately to deal with emerging threats. The key national threats identified so far is political incitement and hate speech. This has already been mentioned by the earlier speaker. Inter-party conflicts, proliferation of organized criminal gangs, increased availability of small arms and light weapons in some areas, radicalized and employed youth groups, honoring misinformation and propaganda, ethnic polarization, communal mobilization, terror threats and violent extremism. This one was also mentioned in some areas that we need to deal with. Cross-border criminal activities and budgetary and intercommunal conflicts in some of the regions within our country. So these are the areas that the police must actually be on top of everything to ensure that we have peaceful elections all through. Hotspot mapping and risk profiling. The service has finalized preliminary hotspot mapping informed by, number one, historical election violence patterns, current political temperatures, organized criminal activities, ethnic and communal tensions, border security dynamics, and the urban crime trends. So these are all the measures the service has actually put in place so that we can be able to profile all the risks that can be involved while we are in the processes of the election processes. Areas are enhanced monitoring. We have some areas that we must keep a sharp eye all through. Areas like Nairobi informal settlements, Rift Valley intercommunal conflict corridors, northeastern border counties, the coastal region radicalization and political conflict zones, Nyanza political rivalry areas, western and central region organized gang corridors. County and sub-county security assessment continues to be updated dynamically based on emerging intelligence and the political development. So this is, again, as I've said, our chief guest, this is an area that we keep on monitoring, keep on evaluating, so that the service can remain on top of everything that happens within those areas. So operational preparedness, strategic planning. The NPS has directed the service commanders to cause the preparation of election security operation orders at national, regional, and county levels. Integrated command and coordination structures have been activated for ease of coordination. Joint operational frameworks with other security agencies and relevant stakeholders are ongoing. And that's the reason why yesterday we have an election there in Murkomen. And again, the security, we did well, say for some sports here and there, but we did well. That is as a result of a good coordination, working together closely with the IEBC and all the other stakeholders. Deployment preparedness. The service has identified strategic reserve deployments from other security agencies, including the Kenya Police Service, the Kenya Wildlife Service, Kenya Forest Service, the National Youth Service, to give synergy to the NPS officers. The General Service Unit, the RDU, the ASTU, the OSU, including other specialized units, have been placed on enhanced readiness, meaning we can be able to overcome any challenge that any security challenge that can be that come at any stage, because we have that broader team to assist the national police service. Public order management preparedness, continuous and trial drills and simulation exercises are ongoing. This one is actually training and capacity building aspect of the service, because as it was mentioned here earlier, training and capacity building is critical to the success of any given election. The National Police Service cannot be able to render this very critical service without training its officers. And that's the reason why we are partnering with the IEBC and the others in that direction, so that we can ensure that we have a National Police Service that is well trained. It has enough capacity. Currently, we have over 10,000 recruits who are also undergoing training, meaning that we are also beefing up on the numbers, and so forth and so forth. In terms of intelligence, early warning and prevention, the service has enhanced intelligence-led election security operations through continuous monitoring of political activities, monitoring of social media and digital platforms, arrest and alignment to court of organized criminal gangs, goons and violent financiers, community-based intelligence gathering, and early warning rapid response coordination. Multi-agency coordination. The election security management requires whole government coordination. The service continues to work closely with all the relevant stakeholders for the success of the 2027 general election. Key challenges. Number one, the evolving sophistication of political violence networks, increased misuse of social media platforms, resource and logistical demands across the electoral cycle, expanding urban informal settlements with high vulnerability to unrest, proliferation of organized gangs and crowd for higher groups, public misinformation targeting state institutions. Way forward. We must sustain early election security preparedness and planning, enhance intelligence-led preventive policing. We must strengthen collaboration between the National Police Service and the IEBC. We need to intensify public confidence and civic engagement initiatives. We need to enhance strategic communication and misinformation management. Continue simulation exercises and operational rehearsals, that is the training and capacity building component. Strengthen logistical and mobility capabilities, those are ongoing. There is a need to maintain political neutrality for the service, professionalism, and constitutional policing. This one again was mentioned, that between the policing agency, even the IEBC, some of the officers could be going overboard on that. And in conclusion, our chief guest, the National Police Service remains committed to securing the electoral process and safeguarding Kenya's democratic stability. Number two, the service will continue to discharge its mandate professionally, impartially, and constitutionally throughout the electoral cycle. Number three, the collective success of the electoral process is anchored on sustained collaboration, early preparedness, institutional coordination, and public confidence. Number four, the service assures the people of Kenya of its readiness to provide a secure environment for peaceful, credible, and democratic elections. And I thank you.
Thank you, Inspector General of Police, National Police Service. Thank you. A round of applause for the IG. Thank you so much for the well-articulated presentation on security preparedness during the forthcoming elections. And indeed, you have raised the concerns that were raised during the earlier presentations. More importantly, we shall engage more during the plenary, and thank you for the assurance. National registration documents have been highlighted in the presentations as in fact critical concerns for the Commission to be able to deliver an expected election next year. It is now my privilege and honor to invite Dr. Belio Kipsang, our Principal Secretary in charge of Immigration and Citizen Services, to talk to us matters registration documents for the electorate during the next elections. A round of applause for Dr. Belio Kipsang. Welcome, sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Our Cabinet Secretary, the Chair, IEBC, my colleague PS, the Inspector General of Police, and writing on the protocols already established. Today it is so, we are all pleased to be here on this very important journey that we are covering as we move forward towards elections next year, and also reflecting on all that we have done in the past by-elections, in the exercises that we have done in registrations of persons, mainly on voter registration, the relationship between ourselves in the critical movement as we move forward. CS has already presented by quite a number of presentations that we've had. I would not really want to belabor on anything else this morning. I would want to affirm our partnership with the Electoral Commission, mainly because we are joined at the hip in terms of registration of persons, registrations in two different aspects, registrations on identity and registration on voter. And on registration on voter, the main basis on that is the registration of persons through identity documents. And we would want to commit ourselves that we shall continue working with yourselves, working with IEBC, and working with all of us in making sure that these two very important registrations are done, that nobody is left behind, in terms of registrations of person and identity, and out of which then results in registration of voters. CS, last year towards the end of the year, we had some engagement with IEBC we did create a technical team that is looking into the whole question of data and data management and how we work together in ensuring that Kenyans participate in the civic and democratic processes. I would want to affirm once again that we shall continue on this collaboration and engagement so that, one, we support in the cleaning of the voter register, in issues of dead persons, in ensuring those who are attaining 18 years are included, on ensuring those who are left out previously due to the hard-to-reach places are dealt with, and I'm very happy the Commissioner elaborated quite well on ensuring that the hard-to-reach places, the arid and semi-arid areas of this country, the border counties that were disadvantaged before, and as we are all aware, the question of vetting was ceased, and I know the CS will elaborate on that, and how that will impact on voter registration and the need to reach the hard-to-reach places. CS, again, I would want to give our commitment in ensuring that no one is left behind. We've mentioned about uncollected IDs. We are already working very closely with our Ngao officers to make sure that more than 400 IDs that have more than 400,000 IDs that have not been collected are collected, and that these people participate in the democratic processes that they must participate in, and ensure once again that we reach out to everybody. CS, with that, I would not want to say so much. I would want to commit myself that we shall fast track the processes of ID registration. We have invested very heavily in modern technologies, including live capture. We have enhanced the question of mobile registration across the country, so that as we continue and go towards continuous voter registration, the enhanced voter registration, that everybody is enlisted and available for voter registration. So once again, we give our commitment. We shall ensure that the technical teams that are working together work to ensure that the sharing of data, updating of data is real time. We shall be ensuring that we enhance and we use technology to have real time updating of the databases between the two institutions, so that going forward, we ensure that everybody is included in this process. CS, I would not want to say beyond what I've said, so that we give you time to be able to enlighten and engage ourselves in the exercise that is ahead of us. So once again, we affirm the commitment on efficient services to our citizens, strengthening the democratic processes, and enhancing national governance through coordination between the Ministry of Interior and the IEBC. I want to leave it at that, CS, so that we can give you time and the chair IEBC to engage ourselves. I would want to take this opportunity to invite my colleague Piers Omolo to make some comments, and thereafter we move forward. Thank you very much.
Of IEBC, your vice, the acting CEO, commissioners, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Good morning once again. First of all, I want to commend the team at IEBC under the leadership of the chair, that for the first time in a very long time, you set out to register 2.5 million, and you returned with 2.3 million. And that is an impressive 92% score. When you think about what has happened previously, I think this is something that you all deserve a pat in the back, that you are very deliberate, very intentional. Previously, you would go out to recruit or to register 6 million, you end up with 1.5 million. So it is something that is worth celebrating, and also maybe just to appeal and request the media to help us in propagating this out, because part of what we are doing even this morning is to build public confidence in the exercises that IEBC has been tasked with. Number two is looking at what has happened in the previous elections, right from 2007, 2013, 2017, and the last election of 2022. And there was a lot of positives when you look at how the last election was conducted. And it is our prayer that the election of 2027 will be even better. As the State Department responsible for internal security and national administration, we will continue to work together. We have an elaborate infrastructure that involves the Ngao team, and we will continue to work together, just like Commissioner Noor had already spoken to. Lastly, is that going forward, as we head into the next election, what Kenyans would be asking or expecting of all of us as stakeholders in the electoral process is that are we running a system or a process that is transparent, a process that is accountable, a process that is efficient, but also most importantly inclusive, so that no Kenyan who is supposed to be a voter is disenfranchised from participating in the exercise. So as we go towards the election, I think it will be important and incumbent upon the Commission to have this in mind. And more often than not, the challenge has always been, you find people have voted, and the Commissioner, the CEO here was telling us that after the vote, we expect people to go home, but we end up with crowding at the tallying centers. I hope this time the processes can be much more efficient, so that we don't have to wait for 1 week, for 4 days before we know the results, because these are the things that end up raising unnecessary anxiety. So thank you, team. I don't want to say more than that because my minister is here. I wish you well, and just to reconfirm our availability and commitment to partner and work together to support the Commission in delivering for the country. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for your remarks. Allow me now to invite Commissioner Fahima Arafat, the Vice Chairperson, IEBC, to give her remarks, welcome the Chairperson, and the Chairperson will then welcome our Chief Guest, our Cabinet Secretary. A round of applause for Madam Fahima Arafat. Karibu sana, Vice Chair.
Thank you so much, Honorable Waziri, Honorable Chair IEBC, my colleagues, the commissioners, the two PSs, the IG, the DIGs, the DCI, and all the senior officials in here. Good morning. My name is Fahima Arafat, the Vice Chair of IEBC. I will be very brief. Before I welcome the Chairman to talk to us, allow me to first acknowledge and just mention the names and the committees that my colleagues chair. And I would like to start by Commissioner Anderitu, famously known, and she's our Chair of Operations. Because of time, they usually speak, but we know Waziri is constrained. My sister, Commissioner Mary Karen, she chairs the Committee of Legal and Political Parties Liaison. Commissioner Hassan Noor, he chairs the Committee on Human Resource and Security. Our elder, Professor Adwal, Francis Adwal, he chairs two committees, that is ICT and Boundaries and Delimitation. And lastly but not the least, the one and only Commissioner Lutalala Mukhwana. He chairs Stakeholders Engagement, Communication, Voter Education, and everything that needs to be communicated. Yes, so first and foremost, Honorable Waziri, I want to take this opportunity and thank the collaboration between the IEBC and the Ministry of Interior and National Administration during the ECVR. We enjoyed peaceful environment across the registration centers, and we conducted successfully the exercise, and we concluded within the timelines. Because you can imagine, if anything had happened, we will not have managed that. So that is something we must acknowledge ourselves as IBC, plus the collaboration of all other stakeholders. Secondly, we want to thank Kenyans for trusting us and coming out in large numbers to register 2.6 million voters. We did not achieve this because of anything, but because, led by our chairman, we moved across the country, sensitizing and engaging citizens, even in vernacular, different platforms and different groups. I remember when we first started in Mashuru, where maybe the CEO speaks the language, and we called out to Kenyans, Adung Kura. Can you imagine now, Abajuni from Lamu, I know what is Adung Kura. It means come out and register as a voter. That was in September 2025. So we moved across the country, and we appreciate Kenyans for listening to us by registering. Lastly but not the least, I want to affirm and emphasize that elections is not only the duty of IBC. It is a shared national responsibility, and all stakeholders out there, we request that we work together to ensure we deliver a credible, peaceful, and transparent election. It is now my singular honor and duty to welcome the one and only, ama kuna mwingine? The one and only chairperson of IEBC, who will ensure we deliver a credible and transparent. Ni nani mwingine kama si triple E? Ethekon, Edung, Erastus. Makofi kwake. Hayo makofi hayatoshi. 1, 2, 3. Karibu chairman, and talk to your people.
IEBC. Thank you very much, my IEBC. The Honorable Onesimus Kipchumba Murkomen, Cabinet Secretary of the Ministry of Interior and National Administration. The PSS present here, Dr. Raymond Omolo, Dr. Belio Kipsang. All your PSS are doctors. My Vice Chair and Commissioners present here, our IG, Douglas Kanja, and the DIGs present here. I can see DCI present here as well, representative of the Ministry of Defense, Director Generals of the various departments of the ministry, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning once again. Are we very happy to be here? Because this is a very important meeting that marks the beginning of our formal consultations in this journey of preparations for the 2027 general elections, which is drawing closer and closer by the day, by the hour. So it therefore gives me great pleasure to join you this morning for this important consultative engagement on the preparedness towards the 2027 general elections. I wish to therefore sincerely appreciate the Ministry of Interior and National Administration for the continued collaboration and support accorded to the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission in the discharge of its constitutional mandate. Today's engagement, therefore, is both timely and very necessary. Elections, I must emphasize, is not the responsibility of a single institution. And I think I'll take you from what the VC, IEBC just said. It is a national duty. It is a national responsibility. And it's a national exercise of such significant magnitude that calls upon all of us who have different mandates that were assigned to us by the people of Kenya through the constitutional architecture. It is upon all of us to come together, to work collaboratively, to coordinate very effectively, and to constantly and continuously consult and support one another in a mutually cooperative way so that we safeguard our democracy, our peace, our security, and our rule of law. Very, very important. So the relationship between IEBC and the Ministry of Interior and National Administration, and indeed all other departments of government, ministries, agencies, is very, very critical and central to the delivery of a peaceful, credible, transparent, and inclusive elections. Allow me, therefore, to really thank the ministry, because since we joined IEBC when the new commission was duly constituted in July last year, 2025, we were confronted with the heavy task to conduct the first ever election under the new commission. And being fresh and new, we were a bit nervous, and we did not know how the mini polls, what the media dubbed as the mini polls, we did not know how it will go. But we realized that we have friends, we have support, we have institutions that also care about this country. And when we launched that exercise, the first by-elections under my leadership, where we conducted 24 elections, both for the senator position for Baringo, 24, we had, I think, 6 for members of parliament, and then we had 16 for members of the county assemblies. That exercise took place last year in September, I think? November, yes. Confusing with the voter registration launch. Took place in November, and we executed it with precision. And it was the first successful elections we conducted under this new commission. And the success of that by-election, which was dubbed as the mini polls, was largely attributed, of course, to the hard work, to the commitment and dedication of the IEBC staff, who are very professional and experienced in managing matters related to our elections. And beyond our staff, that by-elections was supported largely by the Minister of Interior and National Administration, the National Police Service, and all the security agencies, because we had challenges around the issues that other speakers have spoken to or alluded to, the issues of gangs, goons that were mobilized around the political contestants that time. And I remember we forestalled violence in most places, and we dealt with the challenges in constituencies such as Kasipul. So allow me, Waziri, therefore, to thank the ministry and also to thank the National Police Service for the support they have provided to IEBC in the discharge of its mandate. As we move closer to the next general election, this meeting, therefore, is very, very important, so that then we can come together and share information and think together about the various challenges that we see, and think together about how we can take advantage of the opportunities that we see, including opportunities in our collaboration, in our coordination, and in our putting together our teams to handle some of the critical things that must be done in order to make the next election successful. One of the areas that we are concerned about in terms of the next elections is voter registration. We've just concluded the enhanced voter registration exercise last month, where we registered 2.3 million Kenyans, eligible Kenyans, within a time span of 30 days, 4 weeks. That is commendable, and I must thank my staff of IEBC and also the stakeholders who supported us. Overall, now we have a additional 2.6 million Kenyans who have joined our register. We congratulate them and we thank them for coming out to perform their national patriotic duty as responsible citizens who are required to come forward and register and participate in making our democracy work. Our registration will also face challenges in terms of the issuance of national identity documents. And this is a matter that most of the citizens where we visited, where our teams were, those who did not, who are not able to come to register because of lack of IDs, they requested that we pass this message to the ministry, and particularly to the department responsible for national registration. And I'm glad the PS present here today has assured us that they are working day and night tirelessly to improve on the issuance of the national identity cards. And this problem of lack of ID cards is across the country. Most places, right from Nairobi here, Central, Lower Eastern, Upper Eastern, Northern Kenya, the southern part of the country, the borderland communities, those communities that live along our international borders, have also asked us to tell you, Waziri and your PSs, to avail to them these documents. And therefore that challenge of undocumented Kenyans need to be addressed so that those who reach the age of 18, the voting age, 18 and above, we are able to register them, because our strategy and our policy is that of inclusivity and participation in making our democracy work, in deepening our democracy. So I'm glad that today's consultations have yielded fruit, and they promise that the ministry will fast-track the issuance of these national identity documents to deserving Kenyans across all corners of this country. Honorable Minister, and the PSS present here, our IG, one of the other critical areas of concern to us as IEBC is in relation to election security preparedness. And I think you have seen our presentation, our requests, our requirements, which have been presented already by Commissioner Hassan Nur Hassan, who is leading our election security preparedness efforts. We know as a country we are faced with challenges, emerging challenges. Of course, the issues of our young people sometimes participating in this phenomenon called goonism, and of course joining these criminal gangs and being mobilized by political actors. We as IEBC are very clear on this issue, particularly our Inspector General. We need to deal decisively with this issue, both from the demand side and the supply side. Because these young people on their own do not engage in political violence. They are people who have the demand for their services. And of course, being unemployed and facing some of the challenges, then they are likely to engage in these activities for survival. So we need to find out who are these people who demand these services. who are these people who are mobilizing violence against other Kenyans in the name of contesting? Because my position is, if you are looking for a job, to be a member of county assembly or to be a member of parliament or to be a women representative or a senator or a governor, why would you cause other Kenyans pain? Why don't you talk to them, convince them, tell them your policies, your agenda for them, instead of you mobilizing them to disrupt other people's lives and of course property and businesses. So we are very clear on this. We need the security agencies to investigate. DCI is present here. We need them to be arrested and to be held accountable. And as we move, when we declare the election period, the campaign period, when the Electoral Code of Conduct checks in, we as IEBC will also take decisive action, including disqualifying some of those people whom we will have information about their activities in perpetrating violence in this country. So we are very clear on that. We have agreed with the entire commission that we will strictly enforce the code of conduct as against those politicians, whether sitting or aspiring to unseat those who are sitting. What I'm told in the field, the standing politicians. Na wenye wameketi kwa kiti wamekalia kiti na kuna wenye wamesimama wanangoja kuang'oa. So let us work on this security arrangement as has been presented here. We must have a robust election security arrangement program with all those coordinating mechanisms and structures, of course led by myself, the IG, all the services that are involved, the intelligence, the investigation, and all of us. And of course the civil society is also part and parcel of that election security arrangement program. Third, which is I think my last point, is on our, again, partnership and collaboration in the area of conflict management and peace building. Of course, we know that prevention is better than cure. We have already been told by the analysts, the IG has presented a comprehensive report here about the various threats, the way they see it. IEBC has also presented our threat analysis. We've also mapped the hotspots, just like the security. So we need to harmonize all this so that then we design strategies and approaches to deal with those issues. And for me, I will emphasize prevention better than as a better approach than waiting to deal with the aftermath. So peace building and conflict management should be central to our efforts. We need to activate the systems to coordinate peace building and conflict management efforts. We need to activate mediation committees. We need to up our game in peace messaging, calling upon Kenyans to maintain peace and patriotism. And therefore, all that infrastructure, what we're calling the national infrastructure for peace, which starts at the national level all the way to the grassroots. And I think at some point, 2013, that infrastructure was housed under the Ministry of Interior and National Administration. So we need to look at that, the National Steering Committee on Peace Building and Conflict Management. I believe the policy for conflict management and peace building was passed. If not, we need to fast track it because it's very important for us to use soft power to engage, to mediate, to use other alternative means, because using hard security alone might be sometimes problematic. We need to complement their efforts so that where it's necessary, we prevent incidences of political violence, political mobilization, ethnic profiling, and all those negative things that are likely to affect our environment for conducting a peaceful, credible, and election that Kenyans will accept and believe in. So as I conclude, allow me to emphasize that the success of the 2027 general election will largely depend on how effective our institutions coordinate and collaborate, and that journey begins today. And Waziri, allow me to inform the nation that today IEBC is having this joint consultative forum with the Ministry of Interior and National Administration. We will also engage with other ministries and other departments of government that have a mandate that has a bearing on these national elections. Because it's a national exercise, it's a national duty. So we will be talking to other agencies, for example, the Communications Authority on matters of network and the digital space. We will be talking with the National Cohesion and Integration Commission on, of course, how they can effectively discharge their mandate to support us to deal with issues of hate speech. We will be also discussing with other commissions, EACC, on issues of bribery and treatment of voters. We will be talking with the National Commission on Human Rights to also see how we'll address issues of human rights violations in an electoral environment or context. We have already engaged with civil society and will continue to do so. We have also engaged with the international development partners, and we are mobilizing support also from that end. We also had sessions with some of the political leaders, both in government, in the ruling coalition, and also the opposition. And we are saying these elections must be inclusive. It must bring everybody on board. And we will continue to do that. As we move forward, we are also planning to activate the election support program, and we'll be having roundtables to discuss the security challenges and threats to our elections, as has been said. And that effort is led by Commissioner Nur Hassan. And IG, we request that we convene a meeting very quickly so that we can roll out that program. We are also planning to have a national elections conference, the road to 2027. And this will bring together all the stakeholders, the political class, our politicians who are our clients, the national government, county governments, international development partners, civil society. All these groups will be invited so that we have a national dialogue around what kind of elections are we going to have in 2027, because it's our collective responsibility as the Kenyan people. So with those many remarks, allow me to conclude by saying that this journey must hold us together and must enable us to move together collaboratively towards a peaceful, credible elections in 2027. So I therefore thank you for listening, and I thank you for this forum. I thank my staff for organizing this, and I thank the staff of the Ministry of Interior for also organizing the success of this forum. And I therefore call upon Waziri, Honorable Onesimus Murkomen, to come and address us. Please welcome him with a big round of applause. We'd like to hear from Waziri how he intends to address some of the challenges we have thrown on his way. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you very much, Chair. Please, let's be seated, all of us. Thank you. The Chair of the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, Mr. Erastus Etung Ethekon. It's been said you are triple E, and it's E in the past was not a very good grade, but I'm told when it is now when you double the E, it becomes it is the best grade under CBC. So it means exceeding expectations. we believe that in the coming elections you will be not only double E, but beyond the same. The Principal Secretary or in the Ministry of Principal Secretaries in the Ministry of Interior and National Administration, Dr. Raymond Omolo and Dr. Richard Kipsang Bedion, the Inspector General of Police, and the Deputy Inspector General of Police, senior government officials in the here present, all commissioners and the senior officials also from the commission, including the CEO. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. When I received a letter from the chair of the IEBC inviting stakeholders from our ministry for this consultation, I hesitated at first to think, how can we meet with IEBC? And then when I looked at the requests or the areas of consultation the chairman put, I realized that IEBC is taking their mandate very seriously on the preparedness for elections, and that I realized also how serious the responsibility we have as a ministry to support credible and verifiable elections. And so it may look like a sermon from you, Chair, but I think it's a consultation. In the past, some people may have felt that they are too big to be invited by IEBC Chair. But for us, we are in a position of responsibility, and it doesn't matter who invites us, whether it's a county assembly or a serious institution like IEBC. When we are called upon to account for our responsibilities under the Constitution, we are ready and prepared to be held into account. And thank you, Chair, because our focus today is in preparedness for the next elections. A lot of presentations have been put forward, so I will try to be as brief as possible. First, let me start by saying the Ministry of Interior and National Administration stands ready and prepared to support the IEBC in delivering on its mandate. Our support is anchored in the Constitution, the responsibility of the executive to execute that all that has been passed under the Constitution, the laws of Kenya. And also, we pledge our allegiance to the Constitution. Our responsibility is beyond political factions. We know that even though governments are formed through a political process, those who sit in government must always be alive to the fact that our mandate is higher than political factions. Our mandate is to the state, and anything that is a threat to the state, whether it is from the side you like or the opposite, you must always stand by the Constitution and to protect the state. So I want to pledge that is our responsibility. And in doing so, congratulate those who are before us, who facilitated and midwifed last elections, those who served in the capacities we serve, those of us who are seated here, for what they did. They did their best to ensure that the last elections was peaceful, and you saw from the graph that it was a peaceful elections. Despite the challenges they had, despite also the pressure they had, I want to congratulate all of them, some of whom now are in also political, now the other side playing a political role. I want to also say that we have captured clearly the threats. Of the first threat, first of all, let me say that we know very well that we have the 2027 election security preparedness framework that is comprising the National Election Security Plan of 2027 and its implementation framework and associated standards operation procedures. And this election preparedness security plan has now been completed, and it needs to be adopted formally. And that's why the chair of the IEBC had said they need an engagement with the IG to make sure that there's a formal adoption of this report. This framework, the draft framework, has been incorporates lessons drawn from electoral circles from the 1992 to the recent by-elections. These lessons are particularly important because on areas of early warnings, management of electoral violence, cyber threats, misinformation and interagency coordination, which also informs hotspot classification, deployment planning and operational protocols. At the institutional level, interagency coordination structures have been developed and aligned, and the hotspot mapping framework has also been completed. As I said, this report requires a formal adoption so that then ministries, departments, and agencies also put in place their budgets for the next financial year to make sure that this is delivered. Now, what have we found in terms of threat assessment? And it has been properly presented here. Political and electoral violence threat. It is common knowledge now in the country that in some areas there have been serious threats. I'm very happy with what IEBC and the security team was able to deliver yesterday in the by-elections. To a great extent, there were very minimal. There was a very minimal presence of goods and gangs in the constituency elections and also the by-elections for the MCAs. And so this issue, we need to deal with it. And the most, Mr. Chair, I know your mandate includes also oversighting election nominations. The most threatened place actually is not even the final elections. It's usually during the nomination process. Sometimes these threats come by way of ethnic and clan-based alignments, and they create a lot of triggers for tensions in the constituencies and so on. In some places, when you win a nomination ticket, it's as good as winning elections. So the nomination processes must not be ignored, and therefore the role of the political parties is extremely important. And I appreciate the fact that IEBC already has met all the political parties to discuss this issue. We need to ensure that, and in our part, we are busy strengthening the early warning system through the national government administrators and administration structures and Security Intelligence Committee. Across the country, we continuously get the intelligence report as to which areas are hotspots. And I want to also appreciate our National Intelligence Service because they provide credible information for the enforcement part of the police to make sure that we deal with these areas. There is also deployment of preventive security plans to the hotspot areas and enhanced interagency coordination for rapid response. One of the greatest success of our national security architecture is the interagency approach to security response, which brings together Minister of Interior, Defense, the intelligence community, the local community, the community policing. There is also continuous stakeholder engagement with political actors and relevant stakeholders. And this is where I want to challenge our political leaders. I want to challenge also both the opposition and those who are on the government side. They should be free to engage the IG on any issue. I don't see why, even if you are in opposition, why you should not pick a call and call the county commander or the county or the IG and tell them we have a rally tomorrow here, we have a meeting like this, we would like to be given security, why you should not write to the IG. That continuous engagement will ensure that we have a very peaceful environment for people to canvass their agenda. There is also the second threat is the organized crime and small arms proliferation. The security environment is shaped by organized criminal networks, political gangs, and continuous proliferation of small arms and light weapons in some areas. These risks are compounded by youth unemployment and informal economic structures that provide recruitment bases for violent actors. And we have already also discussed this. And for us, you know that we are doing everything, Mr. Chair, to collect illegal weapons, especially the banditry-prone areas like the North Rift and also the northern part of the country. There is an ongoing intelligence-led operation that has yielded very good fruit. We have now surpassed, we are beyond 4,000 guns that have been collected from civilians voluntarily, and we shall be having a public display and banning of those guns soon as a result of our intelligence-led operations that within a year has resulted in collection of over 2,000 guns. And there are still more because of the challenges of our porous border. The multi-agency security operation also has identified the hotspot areas, and the community policing and Nyumbakumi structure is being strengthened to enable us to disrupt these criminal networks. You need to see that, and this is the assurance to the country, that we have now upscaled our fight against the gangs. And special security teams have been put in place by the IG. I know there has been a serious operation in Kitale where there was a big challenge, and I'm very happy to report that it has not spared anybody. Politicians on both sides of the political divide have come to acknowledge that it was the right thing for us to do, even though it was painful for them because their supporters had to be dealt with, arrested and charged in a court of law. And that will be the norm, whether it's Nairobi, Mombasa, Kisumu, all these parts that we have had in the past, the presence of criminal gangs. We must make sure that this issue is dealt with finality. On the cybersecurity threats that has been mentioned, we are working hard to ensure that we strengthen the Election Cybersecurity Operational Center based monitoring and response capability. We also deal with real-time detection and verification of protocols of digital content, enhanced protection of voter registration, and result transmission systems is needed to make sure that that is properly protected, and public communication strategy to counter misinformation and restore trust. With these AI-generated fake videos and pictures, these elections is going to have its own challenge, and we are preparing ourselves to do the same. We actually, I hope, Mr. Chair, you will also have an engagement, hopefully, with the judiciary, so that we receive great support when these people who are propagating fake news are arrested and charged. We also want to receive great support from the judiciary. The Inspector General of Police, through the DCI, is working hard. We have resourced the DCI to have the capability and the tools to be able to detect these cyber criminals, and it's important that we deal with it with finality so that we do not generate a fake IEBC chair, a fake IEBC returning officer announcing results in some corner, and that is really the challenge coming this year. But I am very proud to say that I was in the committee, the special committee in the Senate that passed the election laws after the 2013 elections. And in 2016, when we put in place the legislation, one of the biggest reforms that we put was in the committee led by Graitu and Orengo, and which I served as a member, is this proper statement that elections end at the polling station. And so I think that has saved us a lot of problems, because even when goons want to put a lot of energy in the tallying center, it's an exercise in futility, because there are verifiable results from the polling station that can be tallied, any time. Of course, that is not to say that we will not do our job to protect the polling center, but I think that was a significant reform that ensured that past malpractices where results were changed between the polling station and the tallying center is now a thing of the past. And I think some of those legislative frameworks have really made a great, even though I saw that there was a presentation that changing laws is a threat, it's also an opportunity, because it was a last-minute law that we passed, but it made a big difference. Transnational foreign interference threats, we need to ensure that our elections is protected from external factors using disinformation, external financing to destabilize activities in our country, cross-border security threats, especially in border counties, and we are working hard to make sure that, working also with the intelligence community to ensure that there is enhanced financial intelligence monitoring, interagency surveillance of cross-border security threats, and collaboration with regional and international partners and information integrity, and the continuous monitoring of foreign digital influence networks. On the social-economic drivers of conflict, there has been long drivers of conflict, such as resource-based conflicts, livestock rustling, and socio-economic stressor, including acts of underlying acts that are accelerating stability. And the Commissioner Hassan has really captured that issue that we need to strengthen our local mediation and peace structures. We have trained our county commissioners. We recently trained our chiefs to make sure that they have the capabilities to undertake local mediation and peacekeeping, especially in pastoralist communities where we have many of these challenges. Community-based conflict also must be prevented. We're having a meeting now shortly between leaders from Wajir and Marsabit, and you must have seen in the news that even a small security installation there has became a point of conflict. And it's important to engage the leaders, but also to engage the local leaders there, and our Ngao leaders are properly trained to do so. There is targeted deployment of in the historical volatile areas, early planned and targeted deployment, and there's collaboration with county government on preventive interventions. There are also environmental challenges that we must deal with. Climate change disruptions, public health emergencies, and disaster-related displacements affect also electoral processes such as landslides and so forth. And I think, Mr. Chair, we should have, and for sure, we must think together, working with the Ministry of Environment and especially the weatherman, to simulate how the weather will look like across the country in August next year. And I challenge you that this year, because it is not just about the rains, it's also the drought. Because most of the people in marginalized areas may be disenfranchised. They may not be able to vote because of drought, and they have to walk long distance to go and deal with pasture. I don't know what IEBC will do. Are you going to create a mobile polling stations, or what are you going to do to these voters? Are we going to say that people in the north, because they have gone 100 kilometers looking for pasture, they will be told to forget about elections, call you and suffer? And what lessons can we learn from these weather patterns? And it is not to me, it's for IEBC to make the decision. But for us, is to be able to respond by having a contingency electoral security planning, prepositioning resources, especially when in the rainy areas. How do you transport? There are no roads, there are no bridges, there is security challenges in those places. And as a ministry that is also responsible for disaster response, this is an area that we must work together, especially through our disaster response department under PS Raymond Omolo. It's important to think through what we can do. And therefore, Mr. Chair, those are the commitments we are going to make. We want to say that the operational standards and this strategy needs to be adopted urgently. Before I conclude, because I'm just summarizing, there is that I wanted to project for you to just see. Mr. Chair, we have had, you now have to turn, but I will just explain if it is, yes, it is there. That's a small brief on the issues of national identity cards. And the directorate has registered 35 million Kenyans, and the figures on top, between 1995 and 2026. Those are people who are having IDs, out of which 17 million are female, and 17.7 are female, and 17.5 are male. Between last year, July, and April 2026, we have had a total of 2 million identity cards issued. Now, we believe that by July this year, within the 1 year, we will have done 3 million. Okay? Reason being that you can see the newly newly registered. sorry, just go up, just go down a little bit. The newly registered are, scroll, yes. The newly registered IDs are those are people registering for the first time ever, is 1.1 million. But it should concern you that people who are going for replacement for IDs are almost the same as the people who are getting IDs for the first time. That is 900,000 people, 949 are replacing their IDs. Either they are making some few corrections, but most of them are replacing IDs. Now, why is it that the number has gone high? In the past, we would have done 1 million. Yeah, by July, we would have done 1 million. We will do 1.2, 1.3. Now we will do about 3 million. Why is that so? Because of deliberate government policy. When the president came to office, the first thing he did was to, 2 years ago, was to remove the extra vetting requirements for issuance of IDs. And you will see the impact in terms of the number of people who were able to get IDs. Number 2 was to remove the 300 shillings that was paid when you get an ID for the first time. That 300 was a big deal. Many people who are taking ID for the first time were unable to do so because they could not pay the 300 shillings. And you can see the numbers have gone up. But more significantly, for you to replace your ID, remember in Kenya, if you have an ID, and I've kept saying this in barazas and so forth, even those people who go and bring busa in the village, when they don't have money, they leave the ID with the seller of the busa and tell, nishikie, nitakuletea, shilingi 20. And some of them even use it for hospital bills. Some use also for Shylocks, the local Shylocks. Keep my ID, I will pay you. And as
fainali tutazungumzia kuhusu fainali hizi lengo la nchi kwa mapasa wa dawa za kulevya tayari za kupunguza kazi kwa kocha kwa mtemaji bwana aliyeshika kile shika hili Transcend Academy Transcend Academy mkafiti leo ni sogani Atikubwa sana, asante. Asante. Kazi yako inaonekana. Thank you so much. Tafadhali. Naambia daktari mmoja tafadhali aje hapa kwenye uwanja wa Murkomen tafadhali teketeke. Daktari mmoja tafadhali kama unasikia sauti. Njoo hapa kwenye uwanja wa Murkomen. Nataka tangazo hili tafadhali. Kama unajua kusalimu, kuingia na kibao, tena kidogo jamani. Yeye hapo daktari nikimpisha ndio Narudia namna hii. Kama wewe shabiki usimama mkono wako wa kushoto. Kama wewe shabiki wa Msara mkono wako wa kulia jaza kwa date tafadhali. Kama unasikia sauti hii. Tafadhali. Alafu sio tusaidie. Wale mashabiki wote wapende uwanjani. alafu kuna ile ambulance tafadhali. Moja ile upande wa pili, madaktari waje upande wa pili tafadhali. Ndani ya nchi aitwa Bwana Onesmus kutoka Murkomen, bila kuwasemaji viongozi wengine mbalimbali DIG, Deputy Inspector General of Police, wengine na masengene na local areas, gatozi na tuwazozoa kila sekunde wa kelele kakani sawa mama kaunti bila shaka ile mteruto sio bila kwa sababu ala mtesaka bila shaka ni sereta pamoja na viongozi
Eko.
Asante. Kipindi cha pili unafaidika kwa mara kwa mara mchezaji. Asante sana wale wote waliojaza uwanja. Chairman wa shughuli hizi mwite Otieno Odena David anafanya kazi kubwa zaidi. Patron mbili kwa shughuli zile kabla yako kule. Nje. Piga shughuli nzito hapa. Kwa mazito upande wao. Kile kipindi cha pili kilichokuwa mchezaji magoli kwa 2-1 kwa faida ya Statunga. Okay, ndio kusema mashindano ya Youth Culture Rally Chapter shughuli ilianza mjini na miezi mitatu iliyopita, inaendelea leo ndio kilele ama hafla kuu inafanyika leo. Fainali ya pesa nyingi sana,
Pesa fua.
naamua prize money kwa shughuli nzima ni milioni 6.
Okay.
Milioni 1
Ni zawadi tu.
zawadi zote ni milioni 6.
Na kuna vikombe pia.
Kuna vikombe, kuna medali. Alafu ile hiyo la watu ile inaitwa kwa tuzo hapa.
Kabisa.
Kwa tuzo hapa. Kwa tuzo hapa. Most valuable player vile vile atakuwa na tuzo
Kabisa.
na mambo yanakuwa mazuri hata zaidi. Asante sana mashabiki wetu ambao wamezidi kujaza uwanja. Kuitikia mwito wa kuja
Asante pia. Naambiwa jamani wachezaji wa timu ya Sipanga pamoja na Kapsara
waende
wengine wenzao wao tayari upande wa pili.
basi. Yaani
Hakuna kuruka, hakuna mbuzi kuruka kamba.
akiruka kamba ataruka kijia kichwa. Haya. Mchezo kwa kweli pia naona pia anazidi kuingia fora hapa. Wachezaji wa timu zetu wanacheza vizuri. Kumbuka ni shughuli ambazo pia kwa mbashara ta TV, kabisa TV na pia Divenda na watu kwa shughuli hizi. Lakini pia TV mwana pale mahali naona pale mahali salamu yangu bwana kitabu kazi pale nyingine katika maelezo ya tawi sio kazi ya kwanza. Asante iko kazi. Kwa hivyo thank you so much for good job ndio mmefanya kwa mshamba hizi inaondoka hata zaidi. Kipindi cha pili bado kwa moja kwa faida bila shaka tunapata mazungumzo kutoka kwao na pia majina yao kamili. Pia ratiba iende ilivyopangwa bila shaka. Hakuna dosari. Hapo unaingia unapokuleta majina kamili, unafanya idara gani? Ati mimi ni chairman wa DIP. Kama wa DIP ukakuni. Asante kwa kazi kubwa kwa timu ya Statunga kwa mwanzo wa kulia. Cheza sasa ndio mmoja kutoka tena kwa ile hiyo hata zile mchezo kwa kujiamini sasa kwa timu zilizojiamini sana timu za Statunga bila shaka kujihami watu wa watu tokeza kosa nafasi na wao kipa tena mmoja chema jioni sasa ndio sisi kwa mwisho takatifu watu wangu wa soya kwa kupenda hizi wanasikia acha ndimu kidogo acha soya na tutangazie kwamba hii fainali babu kubwa bila shaka tunasema kwamba hii fainali ya Cup First Edition 2025 inaandaliwa na waziri wa Nesmas Kipchumba Murkomen mwenyewe ambaye atakuwa na wageni wengi zaidi. Tutamzungumzia kwa gavana Mombasa Al-Hassan Joho, kwa sasa ni waziri wa madini. Tutakuwa na waziri wa michezo Salim Mvurya na waheshimiwa wengine wote tumeshasema pia chama ni walipo wamekuja. Asante. Weka mawe tena. Haya, yuko chini mchezaji timu ya Kongoni bali sasa kwa chini magoli mawili kwa moja. Kumbuka mchuano ambao ilianza miezi mitatu iliyopita kwa mchezaji imepigwa katika kile katika uwanja wa Chelsea kabisa, uwanja ambao uliandaa mechi za nusu fainali watoto wa kike na wa kiume kabisa. Na rafiki yangu Wilson ameingia kufanya kazi kwa ofisi ya mheshimiwa Kwale. Rafiki yangu Wilson na pia wanafanya kazi kwa ofisi ya mheshimiwa Kipengele. Naona marafiki yangu wote ni wa ofisi tu. Naona rafiki yangu wote ni wa ofisi tu. Hivi na wala anafanya ofisi ya masuala ya kumicha. Pamoja na Alison Wesa. Pia na kumicha fundi mama kabisa. Alison Wesa. Mimi natamani nimuone tu Kolo. Wewe ndio mtu wa kuona. Mimi nishamuona kale ndo wangu ndio. Mimi nataka tuone Kolo. Wangu ni suku. Asante. Asante sana wale jamani mpiga suku. Suku za kupitisha wanangu. Kuna suku zingine tafadhali sisa kuambiwa kurudi nyuma. Na pia tangu nilipopandisha mnyama. Inatembea kwa angani kwa shaka. Ukiona picha taswira kabisa safi kweli. Wakati shughuli kama hizi kwa ajili ya kujia moja kwa moja Town TV, Chat TV na pia conference bila shaka wanakushukuru moja kwa moja. Asante. Na jambo ambalo nakupigia kwa sababu ukiangalia labda kama uko shirika safarini ama kikazi unafurahia mechi kwa popote ulipo. Pia bila shaka yangu baada ya mchuano wa volleyball kuisha, natarajia pia tuone matokeo tuyatangaze. Tujue tumeendaje, tukakuaje na kufikiaje. Bila shaka tutakuwa najuza ile kunaenda kati ya Chelsea na Kaplamari. Nani alichukua seti ngapi? Itakuwa fadhali. Niko rafiki yangu ile IEBC. Najua kwa nitaujumbe kwa ile njia nyingine. Ili niweze pia kuwapa wananchi taswira wale watazama uwanja wa volleyball. Sasa kama mchezaji mechi inaenda finali inaendelea, lakini kidogo kwa kasi leo chini. Sasa kasi ya mchezo ni chini kama maybe sijui yule bana anaongoza na nataka kuijaza zaidi ama wakati wa kufanya mabadiliko timu ya Star Tuga watakwenda kufikia mabadiliko bila shaka. Baada kupiga baada tena sasa sana hapo kwa timu ya Kogoli kutoka na Martha au Fula bana kisha mabaya yanasalia mawili kwa moja. Umesema ndugu yangu fikiri jiko tai hawezi penyeza hata suti ile sahihi. Asante. Suti hizi zinaendelea hapa ni mbaya. Hizi tuko na hebu tufanye mazungumzo mapema. Unaona kusema nimepiga pasi jana. Nimeingiza manukato. Hivi ni hapo. Na tulikuwa tunasema tu jana kwamba usalama utakuwa ni hai bali ya juu zaidi. Hapo uache na ujulikane. Utarudi kwa mbali sana kwa yetu. Ukitaka tukule vizuri bali hizo OPM kwa hiyo nafasi kwa stars mapema tu. Hapo hakuna ikiwa kule kubaki tenge. Na ngangana hapo fundi. Wewe ni nani? Upande wa kulia kidogo na shabiki wamejaa. Na bado kuna zaidi ya 10,000 barabarani wanakuja ndugu yangu. Nani anasema sasa ni wazija? Na bwana mheshimiwa Motosit anachaki Luga jana alijivuna volleyball. Jana amedansi wewe. Lakini mama taarifa kwamba Makongoli wako chini magoli mawili kwa moja. Timu yake kutoka Motosit. Ilikuwa tu ilikuwa lazima useme sababu unajua ameingia tu mambo yanayo. Wacha kumoe nje kumoe ndani. Mama anasalimia watu wa mama Mungwana. Mama Mungwana mchapakazi mama. Mzuri sana. Ameleta zingine kika kifua kifika tu hapa. Asante. Karibu sana mheshimiwa. Karibu sana mheshimiwa mama MCA Motoshetu. Mungwana, karibu sana. Hana kibeti ndio. Hana spidi mama leo, hana mbio. Mkikaribisha mheshimiwa. Ndio hapo naishi. Hapo ndio kundieni na baki. Hapo kawa inaishia hapo. Hakuna kawa kupita hapo. Unaona rafiki yangu classmate game. Yuko chocha amepiga kambu balikopo. Ndio kama mvua itanyesha. Naona shabiki sana amepiga magauni. Alivaa kinauni lakini si rasmi. Si rasmi. Waambie kwamba tafadhali panda stress. Jamani nimeanza siku zangu kuingia. Hata siku huko sio hivi. Lakini wanafanya kazi nzuri bila shaka, wanafanya kazi nzuri. Anachoangalia MC ya motoshoto anahitaji ulinzi wa kutosha. Inakuwa fatani. Kwa sababu ni klasini wako. Asante sana, asante kwa kufuatilia live. Kipindi cha pili zaidi na kwa kufuatilia dakika. Alafu kisha baada basi tunatarajia miamba wawili kabisa dhidi ya Sibanga. Nani atakayoibuka wa kwanza atakayebeba hii milioni na washabiki wa Kasara wamekuja wengi. Mbele nimeona Satunga wakati wa mechi ya mtazamaji tuzaje kabisa. Ni rasmi wa timu ya Satunga ni mabingwa wa kombe la Murkomen na kwenda kutoka kwa chata. Wakina dada kwa ushindi wa goli mawili kwa moja dhidi ya timu ya Murkomen. Hivyo wenzangu ni kwa kuziba mafundi kitaifa kwa mechi kubwa. Sababu ya mchezaji kutoka Morogoro unaendelea. Bila shaka hii tunakwenda studioni ili tufanye mazungumzo sisi kwa sisi kidogo tu. Tafadhali ile president komenta ndio kutoa tafadhali president ndio na kusumbua nani ndio sawa. Asante sana. Wacha turudi kwa rafiki yetu ambaye tayari ni wa kweli yaonekana pia kwa kazi ambaye pia bila shaka inaonekana kwamba tayari mshahara uliingia jana alafu amepiga kitenge alafu tuangalie pia Simba anangojea tu harusi. Asante harusi ipo Kasara na Sibanga tafadhali. Tunaomba tu. Hebu tupatane pale kwa ambulance. Itakuwa ni faida kubwa. Sibanga ndio umefika ukija kule mchama ama ndio picha yenyewe anataka Mungu pale haraka iwezekanavyo. Vile mwenzangu ndio tazama kwa ndani ukiangalia. Akili ya milioni maanza kuingia kwa baadhi ya watu, alafu taarifa kwanza acha mambo milioni. Shilingi sio waza security msaidia watu wote watoke kwa uwanja. Tafadhali. Hatutaki kuona fans kwa uwanja wote kwa stands. Sio watu msaidia hapo kwa ndani na security. Itakuwa fadhali tufanye wote na pia timu ya Kasara, timu ya Bongoni ndio timu ya Satunga baada ya shughuli imekamilika tuanze kutoka taratibu tufikishe fainali ya wanaume. Bila shaka vile mwenzangu ameshasema kwamba kama shabiki hauna kazi ya kwenda uwanjani. Kisha nafasi wakati huu ninapokwisha kweli kwa sababu ya shughuli rasmi ya burudani. Kazi kwa mwenzangu wewe kama hao. Asante sana mwenzangu ananilisha pamoja na JR. Basi kwa kutoka fainali ya kufunga kati ya Satunga Stars na kwa sababu wana Satunga Kings. Fainali ya kufunga shaka jamani wamekuwa washindi wa Satunga Kings ambao wametawazwa mabingwa. Basi kijana ni kombe la Tarafa ya Satunga Professional Division. Kombe linalopatikana na kuasisiwa na waziri wa usalama ndani ya nchi anaitwa Murkomen. Bila shaka jamani afla ambayo tunaona viongozi wengine wakuu serikalini akiwemo jamani waziri wa usalama madini anakwenda kwa jina la Ali Hassan Mwinyi alipokuwa gavana waziri wa ama ukipenda kuita limited bila kuachanganya waziri wa michezo Salim Muda na viongozi wengine kama basi Mungu Mkweto anaitwa Kuroreka bila kuachanganya kutoka eneo la Kimilini Kudai Sawi shughuli hizi zilianza miezi 3 zilizopita, zilianzia katika darasa la awali na zote zinataka kushiriki fainali. Msimu wa 50. Nataka niseme asante kwa sababu leo mshindi atakwenda kibeba kibali shilingi milioni 1 pesa taslimu pesa za Kenya. Atakwenda pesa katika moja ya sasa kidogo. Na lazima tusupendishe. Kwa hiyo kidogo kwa ile jamani kelele kwa mmoja Rusuru wanaongoza seti mbili kwa moja wana Kaplamai wanaongoza seti mbili dhidi ya Chepsuro seti moja. Fainali volleyball upande wa wanaume. Asante. Wanaambia ukiwa ndege ya kwanza ikitua wakati wote kuanzia sasa, bila shaka unaanza safari alafu kama gavana zile wana waziri wa uchukuaji wa madini, alafu ndege ya pili kufuata mwezi mwenyewe masikitiko Murkomen, wakati wote kuanzia bila shaka kwa ndani na maeneo ya Chera sisi kwa sasa tunasubiria kwa hamu na gamu. Na ndio jamani, ndege ya kwanza bila shaka imeondoa waziri Ali Hassan Joho, ndege ya pili ilikuwa waziri wa usalama na ndani ya nchi Onesmus Kipchumba Murkomen. Ndio nimetangaza tu kwamba mkorongo wa kulia mashariki wa Kapsara, mkorongo wa Msitu mashariki upande wa Sumbanga. Kabla niseme asante kwa sababu ya wale mamlaka na maafisa wa polisi wale SWAT tunazidi kufanya kazi nzuri zaidi. Tunaona kwa namna gani bwana tuzidi kushuhudia na ngaramu ya kufa mtu. Fainali kwa sasa tunashuhudia wakati wa mtu wengine wamekwisha bunda maeneo haya ya Chera. Basi tutakuwa ni fainali kati ya Kapsara dhidi ya Sumbanga. Alafu tunakuwa na medali. Pia kuna wale wameshika kupunguza kutoka uwanjani wanaweza jamani ligi ya kwetu ndani ya taa online TV. Picha kwa mambo, picha angavu kwa wenzani kwa super ndogo hotel bila kwa sababu MC Pesa alafu isei tunakuwa na magari ya sisi kwa kurasa zetu za Facebook na YouTube Mtaani TV wale ukurasa wa Mheshimiwa Onesmus Kipchumba Murkomen bila kuachia mbali Mambo News. Tuko nayo tunapata burudani, tunapata utano, tuko katika uwanja wa Transit Stadium fainali ya kufa mtu. Na mbele jamani, tangazo kwa mpewa jezi ndio kwa kwa jezi wenyewe. Tangazo tafadhali, kama uko uwanjani umepewa jezi tafadhali ndio kwa kwa jezi wenyewe. Kila mtu tafadhali wakati wote kuanzia sasa chini ya dakika ngapi? Chini ya dakika 16 zijazo. Tuone inakuwa namna gani. Bila shaka tutakuwa na ndugu waziri aliyesajiliwa, alafu tutakuwa na fuata waziri bila shaka jamani sponsor mwenyewe ama basi nasema mkali pamoja na muasisi wa shughuli hizi bwana, kama kawaida anakwenda kuja super FC iko pamoja na FC wa Kenya pamoja na Crystal Fine. Mambo ya kweli mazuri tunazidi sana naona sisi tuende pamoja bila shaka fainali cha msimu ya Cup la Mai. Nataka tutambue kwa viongozi wa sasa kwa Afrika wale ma-MCAs kutokea wodi zote ambazo sasa zipo katika eneo hili la Chelangani. Tuko na wodi ya Sireri, tuko na wodi ya Statonga, tuko na wodi ya Suwerwa, tuko na wodi ya Chepsuro, tuko na wodi ya Suwerwa, Moto State, Makutano, Wengi zetu kusema tunaweza kuwakilisha bila kuacha mbali wiki ya cup na mai. Tena thank you so much for coming. Ile kwa wase tunaweza kuwapokea wageni. Ukitetea vitu anono isi kuna vikombe, kuna pesa sio. Kuna kocha mmoja kuna wale wachezaji wase individual kwa sababu tunawasaidia mchezaji katika kuchukua best goalkeeper, best server, best attacker. Wote tunasema kwa mchezo leo ambazo zipo katika bunge la serikali pamoja. Mheshimiwa Waziri anasema watu jamani, tusambe soka, alafu mambo yanakuwa mazuri tena zaidi sana. Kidogo chini kwa chini kidogo chini kwa chini.